What's going on, everybody? This is SafeWord. You know what it is. You know who we are. Your best and only platform for teaching, learning, and opening the eyes of all of you guys to the world of kink, BDSM, and relationships.
Relationships.
I am your host, Kane Marcos.
And I am your other host, Aurora Storm.
And I'm your co-host, Miss Sasha Lyncher.
So in our last video, we touched on the Dom-Sub relationship and the different types of interactions they have, as well as the ever-changing, always evolving dynamic between these two. But we'll get into that in a moment. So if you haven't seen the video, the link to that video, our website, our Patreon, our OnlyFans, our Instagram will be in the description box below.
All of
it.
And since you're all here viewing and you guys be liking a peek and not speak, we need you guys to go ahead and drop us a like if you guys are here. It really helps us out. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all your kink news around kink, educational content around kink and BDSM.
Relationships.
I got tongue-tied. Like and subscribe.
We here. Tongue-tied over here. So this is SafeWord. And here on SafeWord, we have a safe word of the day. We use this safe word to stop, halt, and completely put a pause on all topic of conversation. So, crew, would we like to let everybody know what the safe word of the day is? If you don't know it, it's right here. Ready? 1,
maybe
2, 3. Consent. So here at SafeWord, we use Zoom, and sometimes Zoom has audio issues and we cannot hear each other. SafeWord. Yeah, exactly. So we throw up a symbol here in case you're saying the safe word and no one's shutting the heck up. Crew, we would like to show them what that is.
Zoltan.
So throw up that symbol if you're saying the safe word and no one is stopping, like consent. Oh, my team good. Okay. All right. Just so that everybody knows what the safe word of the day is. If you don't know, it's right here. All right. So real quick, before we jump into hot topics, can my safe word crew please give a warm welcome and a hello to our ride or die fan? He rides with us every video, every live. He's on our Patreon. And we need to say hello to Hey Roy.
What up, Roy?
Hey.
So, and actually he said something. He goes, Remy's not here, lol, because he hates consent. I agree.
Mic drop so early.
Mic drop this early in the dang show.
Mr. Roy with a read. Oh.
I know. Kane's in the corner like, not saying nothing.
Let me find out. Mr.
All right, Mr. Kane, do we have? Go ahead, Miss Sasha.
Topics.
There we go.
I don't know. I always get confused. It's like it's hot topics or kink news. Like we kind of go back and forth between them. But yes, we do.
Don't you be hating on my hot topics, school jingle?
I like the little hot topic intro.
You just saw, babe, my little song.
When that soundboard comes in, I'm telling you right now, we recorded Miss Sasha singing that, and I'm gonna layer that shit.
Oh, I like it. We've done it like that before, and like the entire time that we've been doing this show, we always like it's never the same week to week.
Yeah, nah.
But now I'm like hot topic is starting to grow on me just because now we have like an intro noise to it. So
look at you, always trying to dom something. Let me switch my little happy ass in here.
All right, Mr. Ken, what you got?
All right, well, this is gonna be a fun fucking live with 2 ladies and just 1 dude. So
and we did a hot girl pop-up that y'all gonna have to stay in tune for, but hot topics.
help you. Consent.
Consent. All right, so I learned a new dating term. There's a new dating term that got added to the Urban Dictionary. Do you guys know what roaching means?
Something to stay away from?
It's not good. I mean, it's not one of those.
I was like, the only time I've really heard roaches is when it has to deal with a bug or something else.
Yeah.
All right,
Bill,
so there's like a concept of like roaches where you know how like you flip on the light and they scatter.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
All right, so roaching is when you find out that your partner is cheating on you or you're turning on the light and prying for information reveals so much more than you actually thought to begin with. So that is the concept of roaching.
Oh, hey now, it's the walk-in.
Open up the floodgate and just a whole bunch
It's
of
the walk-in. What the hell? Why are you in my bed?
Or it's like the concept of if you see one, it's the rest of them you don't see that are the problem.
Oh, dang.
So
yeah. Keep it. I mean, after you shall receive, you go look and you may find exactly what you wanted to find.
and I'll let you guys know right now if you have to use the term roaching to describe your relationship or at any point within your relationship, that's a red flag. Get the hell out. Do not give them a second chance.
Okay, wait, before you continue,
What's
this
that?
one's funny. I got a comment. It says, Kane, grab a cup, lol. Then you'll have 2 ladies and 1 cup. I'm sorry. That was too funny to just let it go.
We ain't nothing if we know it. Everyone, how you like me now?
Sorry, Mr. Kane, I didn't mean to interrupt your hot topics. I just had to take a comment from the viewer. Go ahead.
No, I just have like a really photogenic memory.
Oh, yeah,
And
no.
like that just
No.
That took me back to.
yeah, I
won't
know.
say my
I know.
age.
It just like I just remembered like my first experience with that and being like, oh, okay, oh, what the yeah.
Yep.
We should do a Patreon live and talk about what our first experience with 2 girls, 1 cup was like.
For real. We should do a reaction video. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Mr.
It's like,
Kane,
where were
we
you the
interrupted
first time
that
you
topic.
saw that? And like, who were you with? All right, so there's this other thing that I came across, and I've heard of it before, but not in this sense.
Mhm.
So there's a young lady in a part of Colorado. I don't want to give too much information. Her name's Riley, and I'm pretty sure you can look this information up if you're, curious enough.
I don't want to give too much.
But she actually has a medical condition called uterus didelphys.
Uterus didelphys.
Yes.
Okay.
You guys want to take a stab at
Nope.
what that could possibly be?
Nope.
Like a shrunken uterus?
No, and honestly, I mean, I honestly don't know because I'm not a lady, but I'm pretty sure that would be favorable as to what it actually is.
Okay.
So it's also known as the double womb.
Oh, snap. 2 wombs?
Yes, and so that is kind of one of the more common, like the more common varieties is where, just the womb, cervix, uterus, and all of that is like kind of doubled up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Riley actually has a step further from what I can gather, where she also has 2 vaginas.
Wow. I'd like to see that. Honestly, I'm just curious. I'll be like, what? I want to see. Let me see. Are you comfortable with me seeing?
I'd be like, well, I don't see it. I don't think that's real until I see it.
And then I can, die and be like, tell the story of I saw 2 vaginas.
And I don't know.
Vaginas, 1 girl.
So they have a photo of her, and she's actually extremely beautiful. She's about, I would venture to guess, around 23, 25 years old.
Uh-huh.
She's known about this ever since she was 12 years old. And she actually, I don't know whether it's like kind of, I don't know if she's playing her style into her medical condition or if she did it just for, the news story. But she went like full 90s Cruella with the white hair on one side, the dark hair on the other, almost like
nice.
split personality kind of
Mm-hmm.
situation. So I thought that fit appropriately. But yeah, so she did a news story where she said that this was for everybody thinking like, oh, 2 vaginas, huh? That sounds like fun. For her, not necessarily, because she says that her orgasms are a 50-50 toss-up between whether they're going to be pleasurable or completely and utterly painful.
Oh.
And she has no idea which is which or, has any indication of what it's going to be. So every time, mood strikes. You know, it's a toss up between how that's going to turn out. So I thought it was extremely interesting. I love reading
Yeah.
about, you know, like new and interesting medical conditions, especially when they have to deal with like
Mhm.
the reproductive system, you know, sexual organs, things like that. Like I'm still looking for that chick off of Total Recall with the three
With the 3 boobs.
mammaries. I don't know. I don't know what you could say on
These
YouTube. Like,
memories.
Boobs. You can say boobs.
can we say boobs? All right, the 3 boobs.
It's
So
not crap. They're boobs.
Please.
and then I kind of want, like, if I find one with 3, I kind of want to see one with 1, like the uniboob.
I actually had a friend back like right before I started college that had one. That's it. One.
Now,
And
like,
she
is it
had
dead center
it,
or
well, no, it was off to the, it was kind of weird. It wasn't like dead center, it was kind of a little bit off to the side. And then she had an areola and a nipple way down here on her rib cage. And I was like, whoa, like what in the world? She was like, I don't know. I guess it didn't develop up this direction. And then she got no kind of fatty tissue there. It was just the areola and a nipple.
so I've always had like this morbid thought,
Fascinating.
but I think the concept would be like fascinating, where like if you were to kind of get like this kind of thought evolved over time, where I thought if you took an infant, like a newborn, and somehow like I don't want to say tattoo because that sounds awful, but it was like if you could put 2 dots like an inch apart, like on the shoulder blade, and another 2 dots like along the thigh, and maybe, you know, around the rib cage, stomach, and on the back, I think it would be really interesting to see like where the skin moves as their age
Mm.
As they
progresses.
grow.
But
Yeah.
like where would they be at like 18, because they go from being this small to, you know, a full grown human being. And so like how does that work?
Yeah. Like where does it end up? How does it move around? Yeah.
So
Or how does it change too? Because I know I've popped up with new moles and such as like,
Right.
would
Yeah.
it dissipate or would it just disintegrate after the skin stretched or like what? That would be like pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's always like a thought that I had. And I was just always curious if anybody ever did like a study like that and how they did it, because I mean, that would probably violate so many ethical practices of tattooing an infant.
Right. To figure that out.
Like, and how would you even approach a parent? Like, hey, well, you know, you're about 3 months along. I wanted to talk to you, by the way. Would you be okay with me tattooing your kid when they come out and
Yeah, no.
monitoring them for the next 18 years?
Yeah, no.
Well, we can watch movies on TV that are very reminiscent of such. So
Yeah. That's where I'm leaving that.
All right. And so, sorry, that's just, you know, going down my little rabbit hole. I actually do have something fun. Let me get this set up. Bright lights.
I'm gonna keep my gutter joke to myself.
Oh no, please share. All right, so I found a list of 10 celebrities and their kinks. I'm going to give you guys half now, half later. So I'm going to read on a couple of these, and you'll be surprised at who they're describing.
Okay.
So this star enjoys role playing in the bedroom and is keen to stress the responsibilities you have to your sex partner. She does own a whip and says, I like unexpected stuff, a tiny bit of pain, not too much. When you have got a partner, you have got to do what they want. So satisfy that partner and they should do the same to you. Everybody has got an imagination and can be a bit creative.
Could be anybody.
So vague.
Oh no.
Rihanna.
Rihanna, along the right track. I mean, she is an artist. She's Rita Ora.
Oh, okay. All right.
I can see that.
Okay.
All right. Talk about Cloud 9. This celeb enjoys the thrill of being caught while getting freaky on a private jet. She says, doing it on a private plane is great, especially when there are other passengers on board. It's part of the thrill. I walk into the bathroom first and then they follow. So it's not exactly stealth. Everyone obviously knows what's going on. And when we walk out, they always ask if we have fun.
Paris Hilton? I don't know.
Jennifer Lopez.
Freaking
That
Kim
is
Kardashian. Wild.
Khloe Kardashian.
Ah, I was like trying to go with the wild girls. Let's go.
Well, I watched a few very few episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but when she was with Lamar, she definitely had no problem showing that she was with it.
That's okay. We here for it, girl. We here for
Right. Yes, Lord.
Taking charge in the bedroom is no problem for this famous face, and she will tell her husband to button it. She says, I hate it when guys moan or talk during sex. I really hate that. Just don't do it. Quiet sex is good sex. Don't talk while you're doing it. It's just never going to work.
I don't know. I don't know.
Ariana Grande.
Close. Cardi B.
Oh, okay. All right.
I say close because they're both artists, not because, you know, like it'd be a difference between like an actress and then an artist. So
Right. Okay. I was in the right genre.
in my mind, they both sing, so that's close. Close enough.
They both sing, so that's close.
General.
Alrighty. Despite all the PDA she packs on with her boyfriend, keeping things hot when they're apart is just as important for this person. Speaking about FaceTime sex, she says, let your body and voice go with the flow. It can be awkward at first, but once you get in the groove, you'll be on your way to the big O. Put your toy to good use and let your partner watch you.
I don't know. Can we have a hint? Give us a hint.
Initials are KK.
Kourtney Kardashian?
Kim Kardashian? I was like,
I knew it.
You knew it. You knew it after you got the hint.
No, I said Kourtney first. I said either somebody else or Kourtney.
Oh, my bad. I didn't hear you.
It's all good. She went Travis Barker child. She'd be letting him beat that thing up.
All right. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and put my 2 cents in just because, you know, here at SafeWord, we really don't like to shame. But sometimes, I mean, I don't really think that we'll be shaming this, but it definitely raises an eyebrow, and it's just, and also at the same time makes you go, yeah, God damn it, I can definitely see that.
Okay.
Okay. So just, I mean, this celebrity is famous for, you know, having some pretty pretentious outbursts.
Okay.
X-rated flicks do it for this celebrity, but only if the performers are paid a fair wage and their boundaries are respected. She says, I could enjoy porn if it is shown through the female gaze, made by women, ethically produced and hot.
Is it me? I don't know.
Is it me?
I ain't nobody, but it sounds like me.
Sounded like most women. We all try to.
I mean, yeah.
Well, so for me, it's just like, where do you even find that information? Like, you know, is there a category where, like, ethically produced on?
Oh yeah, yes there is.
Yeah,
yes, there is.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
and
some
there are
women-owned
well-known
companies.
producers that are women producers that do porn and direct porn for women, so that you're not just like watching stuff where you're going, oh God, ow. So there's no way she's enjoying that, you know.
I find it easy to tell how something is produced and what perspective it is based on the whole plot or lack thereof. Well, but yeah, who is this? I don't know.
There is absolutely, you guys just absolutely blew the minds of a lot of dudes. Just like, wait, there's different kind of porn like that.
Well, and there's a bunch of specials. There's actually like 2 on Netflix right now where they are actually interviewing those producers and, you know, like showing what they do and how they do it differently. And it's an all, like one woman has, I'm gonna bring her name to the next show, because one woman has an all woman run company, so that it really, you know, when they're directing and they're putting actors in and all of that, it's very, very from the woman's perspective, you know. So yeah.
All right, well, I got some research to do this weekend just because I learned something new. All right, but this celebrity, ready for the oh yeah, I could definitely see that. Like,
okay.
Oh yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Actually, that comes as a surprise a little bit for me.
Kind of, but not really. She has a vagina scented candle. Like,
Oh, does she?
cancer.
See, I didn't know that. The
See,
most
I
I
just-
know about
She
that
has
woman is she
a
named her
whole
child
wellness, like culty. No offense, but it's almost kind of culty. It's called Goop, and she has like wellness stuff and very eccentric ways of dealing with things, yoni eggs, and she has a vagina scented candle. So I could see her being very in tune with the femininity.
Real quick
So-
before you move on, just so that we know what he's talking about. So comment says, saying Sasha for the woman, like when we were trying to guess, he goes, I was thinking it was Aurora. Well, it's all women, boo-boo. It's all women.
I guess. Wow. Well, I
Hopefully, you guys
I
take
broadened the
some-
horizon. I wasn't even
some
looking in
points
the direction.
home.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wow. So I just remember. So the reason why that was like, oh yeah, I could definitely see that was I remember Gwyneth Paltrow being like the headline of a couple stories. One of the first ones that I heard that everybody thought of as odd at first, until now it's actually scientifically proven that it's beneficial, where she was actually advocating for every morning for at least 15 minutes sunning your anus.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
she
I
did.
remember that.
I remember that too.
reading that article. Okay, yep. So see, I knew more about her than just that she did.
That's a very unique way to get vitamin D.
Yeah. And so, and then the other article that I remember her from, it was her yoga blow up. Do you guys remember that?
No, wait, yoga blow up? Like, did she throw a fit in yoga class or something?
Yeah, she tried to attend a yoga class, and so the details on this are fuzzy because I want to say it was at least like 2 or 3 years ago, but she tried to attend a yoga class, and I don't remember if the class was full or for whatever reason she was asked to participate in a different class or to come back at another time. And she threw a fit saying that she's the celebrity she is the only reason yoga exists. That nobody knew about yoga until she introduced it.
Wow.
So Bertram wasn't anybody? Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though yoga's
All
been in
right.
practice for like thousands of years.
Yeah. There's been so many people who've been almost having their own yoga cola. It's like, okay, anyways, child. All right, Miss Gwyneth.
So real quick, I'm going to interrupt one more time. Okay, we got a new viewer tonight. The person's view, the person's screen name is Shay45, and this person said, "This is my first time catching a live." So hello, hi, how you doing?
What's up?
So I left a little comment for you, but we wanted to say hi to you and take a pause break. Thank you for viewing.
Thanks, Mom.
All right. Go ahead, Mr.
Well, so man. See, I really wish Remy was here tonight. Too bad he's got to work.
You
so
don't need
early
the
in the
bad
morning.
side. You encompass that on your own. You don't need him to advocate nothing. Go ahead and
Go ahead, Mr. K.
We'll be gentle. We'll be gentle. Go ahead.
No, the hell you will.
We'll be nice.
So a recent study at the King's College London, they did a research study asking the age-old question, which keeps, getting new evidence, new support, new scientific studies and everything. Most recently, to answer to this question, does size matter?
Ooh, okay.
Debatable question.
You're asking?
So I'm going to give you guys the actual results of this study, but yeah, I am getting your guys' opinion. There's a couple of guys under average right now going like, please, dear God.
Well, I personally, I'm gonna give my personal opinion, and then Miss Sasha can jump in because I think I already know she answering this. But for me, it's you got to know what you're doing with it. I mean, it's really not for me. It's not about the size. I mean, to have something there, like, but like for real, like it's about knowing what you're doing with it. Like, really, it's not about the size, because there's guys that are tiny. There's guys that are really big. So there's guys that are really big that have no idea what to do with it. Okay. And they're just, ow. And then there's guys that are, tiny and know what the heck they're doing. So for me,
they have to
just know what you're doing. They have to. Here, what about you, Miss Tasha?
Well, of course, I'm gonna switch. I can be, which is a term, I can be a size queen when in certain situations, but overall, even in mostly in vanilla scenes, it really doesn't matter. You know, if like Fontaine is different, but it really doesn't matter. Like Aurora said, it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean.
Ocean.
It is. You could be a big old submarine, honey, and your engine isn't working right.
Right.
You know, you on putt mode. You know, you can't hang with the jangle-lang. So
You can't hang with the jangle-lang.
jangle-lang.
He's
So
like, oh God.
but I'm open to all. I like someone who, like Ms. Roar said, you got to know what you're doing.
Okay, so every woman who identifies or relates to Miss Aurora and Miss Sasha, please write a very convincing letter to the King's College in London, because the results of this were absolutely, yes, size does matter. They used different sized rings. They grabbed 10 couples and then asked those 10 couples to experiment with 4 different rings. The largest ring reduced size by up to a full inch or inch and a half. And then the other sizes went progressively smaller and the idea of it is that you reduce the length by putting something at the base to keep from penetrating as deep as you would otherwise without the apparatus.
Okay.
So based on the results of this, there was a 15% reduction in length resulted in an 18% reduction in overall sexual satisfaction.
See, I would be curious to know if that was more of a cosmetic thing, because sometimes people get caught up in cosmetic size, because sometimes a bigger dowel is more pleasing to look at, but it could not be as enjoyable. It's nice to look at, but not to experience. So it would be interesting to know if it was more because you didn't look how I wanted you to look.
Well, and the other piece of it is,
and here's the thing,
hang out before this study. You know what I'm saying? Because if they hang out before a study, they're gonna talk and be like, "Nah, it's about the size." You know,
right?
Well, and so the way that they conducted this study was that the female partner wasn't aware of which ring was being used, and so it was kind of a double-blind situation to where they didn't know exactly what they were going to be experiencing as far as because they are with their partner. Okay,
I'm about to say that's a biased study. That's a biased study. This is somebody that you're already connected
because
with,
you've already been with that person.
With a stranger.
So, yeah, that's.
We said be being nice, and we're not being nice. He's like, I'm done.
Right, but that's all I have for hot topics tonight. If you guys want to check out this study, it is from the King's College of London.
We love you, Mr. Marcos. Thank you very much for your hot topics. We get the flip off tonight. That's fine. All right. So let's start the show. So there are many different types of dom and sub relationships, right? If you want to hear about those breakdowns, though, you're going to have to join us on the Patreon. We go live right after this, and we will discuss all of those different dynamics. But within those different dynamics, there are also different policies when it comes to safety and staying informed. Okay, that's what we talked about in our video. The most common of these are SSC, rack, and prick. No pun intended. Okay. So, Miss Sasha, can you tell us all about SSC, please?
Yes, I can. So pretty much let's go over. Let's back it up. What is SSC? It is making sure that things are done safely. They're done in a sane manner. And there's communication. So if you're taking place in a scene with your partner or in your play scene, you want to make sure that you're checking all those boxes and you're checking them twice. And you definitely want to make sure that those things are completely consensual, not unsure, not I'll think about it. You have all of your things laid out. And if that is in stone, you're good to go. Go off the rails within reason, but there are also other policies to take into place. But starting with the SSC, that is a great way to start introducing the conversation of kink, whether you're in a vanilla relationship or you're in a dom sub relationship. So if you're looking for a more descriptive and policy that's upfront, then you might want to try RAC instead of SSC. And I am sure Mr. Kane can break down what RAC is. So let us know what it is, Mr. Kane.
Thank you. So RAC is risk-aware consensual kink.
Yes.
All right, so it's a little bit different from SSC in some ways, but for the most part, it's a lot of similar concepts. Just the idea of being risk-aware is more than just asking yourself, is it safe? You're actually looking into what makes it unsafe, evaluating, the risks that are involved, and taking steps to communicate and try to avoid those risks. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 100% foolproof system. There's not going to be any one thing out there that covers all of your bases and guarantees that you're going to have, a 100% safe, accident-free play scene. That comes with experience. But at the very least, being aware of the risks does allow for a play scene to go a little bit more smoothly when you are starting to evaluate exactly what can go wrong and taking steps to avoid that. So like we said, like nothing's ever going to be 100%, and there's always going to be those questions that don't get asked, and it's not because of inexperience. It's more or less because of, hey, you haven't exactly gone through anything like it before, experimented with this, in certain environments, and environment does play a huge role in that, to where just because you don't have an accident the first, second, or third time doesn't mean that an environmental factor won't play a role in creating an unseen risk later on in the future. So in order to combat that, the best way, in my opinion, is to go with prick. And I know Miss Aurora is all too eager to explain all about prick. So what do you got for us?
Miss Sasha had a question. Did you have a question?
I did. So I know I touched on SSC. So that's pretty much the tip of the iceberg, and RAC would be more guidelines and an in-depth analysis of how to do that.
No, basically, here's the deal. So SSC, RAC, and prick are three different categories you can use to define your level of safety. Okay. So old school BDSMers, okay, us old school kinksters stick with the SSC: safety, sanity, consent. Okay. Those are the three things that you need before you start any kind of play scene or any kind of kink session. You need to be talking about these things if you're safe, if you're in a sane situation, and if you have consent. So some of the things that got added were RAC and prick. And RAC is, so like he broke it down, risk awareness, right? So it's just a way to say, okay, well, it's not necessarily safety, because SSC about safety, sanity, and consent. So other BDSMers were like, okay, but I'm beating somebody on a St. Andrew's cross. That's not necessarily safe. I'm doing knife play. We're doing medical play. It's not necessarily going to be safe. So they came up with another acronym to use that they felt comfortable with. Does that make sense?
I had to ask just in case anyone else was new to the different forms and different things. So I had to just make sure.
Yeah, so it's just your personal preference on which one you want to go with. Well, go ahead, Mr. Kane, you got something to add to that?
No, I was just going to say that to me, these are always going to be huge topics of debate, because everyone's always going to take like their different approach or have like their own thoughts on it.
Right.
And for me, my personal thoughts are, when you're dealing with SSC, it's both a good place to start, but it's also the best place to wind up. So if you're experimenting with BDSM, like in the early stages, like if you're new to the concept, then SSC is a good place to start. And you'll more than likely, I don't want to say like evolve, but you'll more than likely move into RAC and then into prick. But then you'll probably revert back to SSC as you gain more experience, just because you stop really, it's not going to be out of the blue. It's not going to be out of the norm to where you need to evaluate it as strongly as you would with RAC and prick. You can group it all into SSC, asking if something's safe. Like Miss Aurora was saying, like, oh no, you're knife playing, you're flogging, you're doing this. Of course, it's not a safe practice, but there's safer methods to go about it.
Right.
And so, like I said, it's one of those good starting points and good ending points, but you'll more than likely start here, move on, and then revert back to just because
Correct.
it's
It's a good.
what everybody that has been well versed in this community more or less sticks to, and it is the most common practice.
Yeah. So let me explain prick, and then I can kind of, break this down a little bit further. So prick, okay, immature children, prick stands for personal responsibility, informed, consensual kink. Okay. Meaning kinksters must take personal responsibility for what happens or what they want to happen in a play scene.
Mm.
So both of their actions and the resulting consequences, good or bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're informed of what is about to happen and understand what is going to take place again and again. It remains sensual, which, as you've noticed, is a recurring theme among all of these, right? You've got to have consent. And making sure that you don't misinterpret the information we give to you. Have free play for all. Well, we give to you to have a free for all play scene, right? That hopefully doesn't result in injury. So you want to link to one of these. So always make sure that if you learn nothing else from us, that you always have consent. I mean, that's the biggest thing. But I mean, going back to some of the things that Kane was even talking about, some people do go back to SSC. Some people, I mean, especially the newer, generation that's in BDSM, it's almost a combative thing. At least when I was really, really practicing this and had clients and all of that, it was a very combative, like, well, I can't get down with SSC because I'm sorry, I need to know that the people that I'm playing with know that there's a risk involved, that they're aware of this risk. So I'm going to go with rack, and they stick with that all the way through. Sometimes they do come back this direction. That's what I work off of, is SSC. But I mean, it really is a personal choice on how you define it. It's kind of like putting a label on something, They all kind of mean the same thing, though. It's just about getting that
different levels.
Yeah, different levels of consent and knowing your safety. Your
so SSC, because like I said earlier, it's like a good starting point and it's a good reset point. Yes. And prick is more of I want something a little bit more out of the box, but I want it to just be this. This is no other conversation. And if you're more experimental and you are open to more concepts, then rap would be better, right?
Yeah. Or some people just jump into it and say, look, this is where I need to sit. Because there are people that play in that extreme play. So they don't feel that SSC fits them, Yeah.
So that was a good way to break it down. Yeah.
So when I dealt with subs and was introducing them to these concepts, eventually, a lot of people that I talked to that experimented with these policies, they all kind of said the same thing, to where it's like, you will start out with SSC, you'll move into rack when you start looking for more information, when you start looking into, like, all right, let's actually look at the risks of this, because we talked about safety, but we didn't really analyze the risks. And so then you move into prick, where you're looking at personal responsibility. And once you get there, I feel like you don't stay there very long, because when you're really thinking about it, it just turns into it just falls into that no shit category.
Right. Yeah.
Where it's like, you're taking personal responsibility for this, and we actually have to make that known in the scene. And you're just like, okay, well, yeah, if I'm engaging in this and I'm aware of the risks, then I am taking personal responsibility.
Right.
Okay. And so that's why people kind of revert back to SSC, because, you can get everything you need out of safety, which is the risk awareness and the personal responsibility, all wrapped into one. And that's why I feel like everybody kind of starts moving back to the original concept.
Yeah, because SSC is basically the umbrella. It's like kink versus a fantasy or a fetish. Fantasy fetishes fall underneath the category of kink, and kink describes everything that, you would do outside of a vanilla situation.
Sprinkles.
So, yeah.
Well, and these are actually still good concepts to have in mind, even if you are vanilla. Just because, I mean, we talk about vanilla sex and everything that it entails, but vanilla sex isn't just plain old, one position, one style, takes about 15 minutes or whatever. I mean, you have your different positions, you have your experimental phases, you have your, doing different things. And even though they seem harmless because it's just two bodies, no toys, no instruments, I mean, you could still run into a risk of injury or, getting into a situation that's a little bit more perilous than that good old, one position, the way mommy and pappy did it back in, the 20s.
When they had the two beds separated.
Right. You can physically do too much, and then mentally you can take yourself in a place to where you weren't ready to go if it wasn't a conversation, vanilla. One person can be more on the vanilla side and someone's feeling adventurous and they're going into, say, the masochistic kind of state. Then it's like, okay, I can't prepare for this in any way.
Yeah.
So I used to work in an old folks community, and there was a lot of kinksters there.
Really?
And talking about, like their glory days, their heydays and everything.
Right.
And some of the most common stories that I've ever heard were, I used to do this and the other. And, like I used to be a lot of fun and be able to do this. And he says, and then I got out of practice and I met somebody who wanted to participate in these styles. And he goes, and that's when I realized I wasn't as young as I used to be.
Right.
And so I know a lot of older men who have a lot of sex stories that end up with, and I had to get out of there because I knew I threw my back out, or damn near gave myself a hernia because I bit off more than I could chew.
Literally.
So one thing that I want to say, because I know that Sasha has some questions for us, but one thing that I want to say that just kind of entails all of our videos, all of our lives, right? If you've noticed, there's a consistent theme between our lives and a lot of our videos. Consent, have a conversation, communication, talk about what you want to do, what you don't want to do. There's a lot, like if you're going to step into kink, if you're going to step into BDSM, don't step into it blindly. You need to be with a partner that you can communicate with and communicate openly with. So that's why we talk about sitting with ourselves first before you ever even step into this realm, to know what you want, what you like, what you dislike, how you like to be pleasured. Is it sexual gratification or is it just the action? You got to know these things. And then there's a lot of setup that happens. You don't just jump into it and say, hey, you know what? I need you to degrade me and I need you to whoop me. Like there needs to be conversation around it before you ever step into it. And that's one of the things that I love about this community is if you go into this community, anybody can be a good communicator. It teaches you how to be a good communicator. Like you really have to dot all your I's, cross all your T's for you to have a healthy interaction, a healthy exchange. I mean, you can jump into this, but then you may not get the experience that you're looking for. So, yeah.
It kind of goes without saying. It's one of those, like BDSM is definitely one of those types of situations where if you jump into it blindly, you can't. There's a saying that I had in my old dungeon where it says, if you were afraid of running into some wolves, you never should have come to the woods.
Right.
Pretty much.
And everybody always asks, like, is that a motivational thing, or like what do you mean by that? And it's, if you're going to engage in a BDSM practice, you can't get mad at the result if you're not taking the proper precautions to ensure your safety.
Yep.
So I actually, and it's no big secret, I have a huge problem with 50 Shades of Grey.
Mm-hmm. I think we all do here.
Yeah.
We all really do have that same issue.
Not an accurate picture.
And it's one of those things like, you kind of have to have like a healthy respect for. And I mean, like there's a couple comparisons that I can make, but I don't want to do that publicly or like on a live or something.
Right.
But,
okay. Patreon. No.
Yeah. Like I would be afraid to put it there. It's okay. So here's the easy way to describe it. Louis C.K. had a comedy skit where he had this concept where he said, of course, A happened, like, of course it's terrible, but, like maybe some of something good did come out of it. And so this is definitely one of those types of situations. I learned something about 50 Shades of Grey that I was actually extremely impressed with.
Okay.
So
I would love to hear.
Did you know that, and I can't remember her name right now. I want to say Stephanie Mayer, but that's, I think, Twilight and the host.
Twilight, yeah.
Anyways, her name's escaping me right now. But did you know that she self-published that book?
Yeah, I knew that.
I did. Like, I had heard that, but when I realized why,
Oh, I don't know why, but I know that she did.
There wasn't a serious publisher that would touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Ooh.
And publishers that were willing to take it on weren't, for lack of a better word, like popular enough to have made it as popular as it became. So it's the
They didn't
difference
have the
between going
market to
to
drive that book.
Yeah, so I mean, like, if you get a good solid publisher, you know, who's gonna put you on tours, book you, mass print, and, you know, get it into people's hands, that's good. None of those publishers would take this on. The publishers that were willing to take that on were going to be small time, put it in, you know, like the secondhand bookstores, things like that. So she self-published that book to get the concept out there.
Right.
So while I don't agree with the swarm of people who decided to try this, you know, just because they read it in a book and it didn't touch enough on consent, safety, sanity, anything like that. So a lot of people thought, you know, like, tie me up and whoop me. Oh crap, this sucks. You know, so that's why I had that saying in my dungeon, you know, don't come to the woods if you're afraid of running into wolves.
Right.
So I do have to commend 50 Shades of Grey for introducing a lot of people to BDSM, and a lot of people did stick to it after they tried it the first time.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people also flamed out and decided it wasn't for them, and probably more than likely because they didn't try it, you know, properly.
Yep.
A lot of movies with miscommunications of what kink is. You have couples just trying to escape to the cottage and handcuff their lover to the bed, and crazy stuff happens where they get hurt. So you have all these like huge scales of what kink is supposed to look like.
Right. Exactly.
And also, like, I read a couple studies and everything where it's a lot of the situations that result in injury aren't necessarily the ones that you would think would be dangerous.
Yeah.
Like there's more injuries involved in role play than there is in knife play.
And rope play as well.
Yeah.
Rope play, because people don't use the correct rope. People use other things. I mean, people get seriously hurt. There's a way to do rope play. You're like, you just don't jump into that.
Don't go to Home Depot.
Don't jump into that without some training, please.
Well, and so like role play messes a lot of people up because, you know, like you when you think about role play, you come into like a certain set of scenarios. Like, I want to be like I want to be a patient, you're the nurse, or I want to be the damsel in distress and you're the hero.
Yep.
Okay, well then that person doesn't know how to give a shot, but they're trying. That person doesn't know how to, you know, break, fall, tuck and roll or anything, jumping around the bedroom like Batman. Falls down, busts his head, and his wife is handcuffed to the bed, you know, and now husband's laying there unconscious for days on end, and she's screaming for help in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
That would be an appropriate way to turn into a prick scene and kind of reset if that's what you're wanting to do outside of your SCC or your rack, right?
Rack or prick, yeah.
Yeah.
If
so it would be more of a prick because it's a specific niche that it needs to be more detailed, so you're staying on the rails,
right?
And all those I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Kind of. Yeah.
I got a wild rant to go on. Let me see if I can remember.
Oh my good. We go get
you in the eye. You're like,
so I did a story in a earlier video where, I don't know if you guys remember, where there was that scenario where there was a couple, guy dressed up like Batman, a wife was handcuffed to the bed, guy was jumping around.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
Yeah. So when you look at that scenario, if you look at it from an SSC perspective, okay, had they engaged in SSC, they would have said, is this safe? All right. So the safe thing to do would be to ensure that the key to the handcuffs was present.
Right.
Okay. So within SSC, if you don't necessarily have the experience, you'll have the key in the room.
But where?
Okay, on the nightstand.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. That's why I said, but where?
Yeah, like in a nightstand, in a drawer, you know, somewhere that, you know, it can be easily gotten to by your partner. Okay, when you start looking at rack, risk aware, that's when you start asking questions. Okay, what if something happens to you?
Right.
And that you can't get to the key? How do I get myself out of the situation? So that would be looking at it from a rack perspective.
Right.
Okay, and when you get into prick, personal responsibility, you're admitting to the fact that you're acknowledging the risks. If something happens to you, I'm going to be locked to this bed. And the personal responsibility aspect of it is, I'm willing to take that risk that nothing will happen to you. Now, when this had an unfortunate ending, but it is good to kind of exemplify what those different safety policies are as far as where is the handcuff key in those three policies.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That was a great example.
Right. So since we've touched on all these topics, so what do you guys think is superior? We wouldn't say better or worse, but which one do you think is more superior than the other? Because, you know, it's highly debatable amongst this group. What do you guys think? I'll throw it out there.
It's highly debatable within the community, honestly.
Right.
And it just, that's the beautiful thing about BDSM and the BDSM community. There's labels, but it's labels that are made from people that are exploring, you know what I'm saying? So there's going to be those hardcores like my mother who sticks with SSC, and there is nothing else. Are you kidding me? You know, like, and that's just how she sees it. Like there's nothing else.
She sees it like a coloring box or like an artist loft, and she has color pencils and she likes straight lines of the color pencils. Some artists like watercolors and all of the above. Well,
and sometimes it's just like, that's what I'm comfortable with because that's what I know into within this community. So why am I going to pick up? So, like for my mom, like if I say rack or prick, because I have said it to her before, she's like, no, that's something that millennials came up with. It's SSC. Everything falls under SSC. She's like, I don't get all these other acronyms and people adding stuff. She's like, you know, like you can label it like that if you want to. That's the beautiful thing of BDSM. You can have any label you freaking choose. You can be multiple labels.
Right.
But, you know, like what she sticks with when she deals with her subs is SSC. And that's why I said like old school, like if you grew up in this, you know, BDSM community and back in the day, there was only SSC, you know? And so that's what you touched on. And then, you know, people came in and a rack, prick, you know. So, I mean, I couldn't say that one's better than the other. It's like what you gel with, like what makes it more understandable and relatable to you, you know?
What do you think?
Because and I see you making faces, Kane, but there are people that just stick with rack. No. There are people that just stick with prick. There are people that just stick with SSC. And they never touch on any of the other ones.
Weird attack, but I'll roll with it. No, I was making faces because I was trying to like really understand like how to put this into words where like in my own opinion, like I don't want to say that one's better than the other. Like I touched on this earlier where you'll start out with SSC because that's going to be the first thing that kind of pops up when you start your research. And so that's something that you'll really experiment with. And then like I said, I mean, you'll look at SSC and, you know, like I gave you guys that scenario where you'll ask yourself a question, is it safe? And it might be a knee-jerk reaction to say yes. And it's because due to inexperience, you won't think of, you know, the personal responsibility or the risks involved. And so then you'll move into, you know, evaluating the risks. And then you'll move into, you know, admitting that personal responsibility is an important and crucial role. But again, like, I feel like you just get into that, oh, well, no shit. So SSC, like when I ask, is this safe? Like, I'm going to evaluate risks and I'm going to take personal responsibility.
Right. And that's exactly how like the Dom group that is my mom, the older generation, that's how they see it, because they're not just going to step into SSC, have this conversation and not talk about personal awareness, not talk about the risks involved, not talk about, you know, all these other things that these topics touch on. So why the heck am I using these other acronyms when I can just use SSC? It's an umbrella, you know?
And this is where my opinion comes in. Like I said earlier, SSC is a good starting point for someone who is a beginning person in experimenting, or if you're coming into your goddess power, it's always good to start there.
Right.
But the more and more open you are, you become more communicative. So then you can figure out what lane you want to be in. And if you want to just delve into, maybe you just like cuckolding, maybe you just like other things, then you could do what prick, and you could stay in your lane, but you're already touching on you wanting to do it. It's consensual. And yes, I know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're doing? But then going into pricks, like, I just like this, just like this.
Well, and there's also extremists that will, you know, they only play in extreme play, okay, or medical play. And I mean, all those things fall into that fire play, knife play, all those things fall into that extreme play level. And so those, there are people within that group that would just stick with prick or just stick with, you know, because
Right.
they like that expresses exactly what they're doing, you
Mhm.
know,
And
because
it's
it's a
good
little bit more intense than just a dom sub relationship.
Right.
Where you guys are communicating and this is what we're doing, you know. Okay, if
Mhm.
we're getting into medical play, if we're getting into fire play, if we're getting into knife play, then there's
Yeah.
risk involved. You need to be personally aware, you know,
Mhm.
you need to take responsibility for your person, you know what I'm saying. Then
Yeah.
you touch on those bases. So
Right.
it also depends on where you play.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's why, like I said earlier, SSC is a good starting point and it's good, you know, redirectional point, because anytime during scene, little do you may be aware, you can go back to SSC and reset and be
Yes.
like, okay, this is great. Are you willing to just do this? Da, 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 da. This is what we're going to do. This is the boundaries. Are you okay with that? That's a good reset point to pull out a scene and refigure out your SSC. So
Right.
I like them all. It's just, you know, finding a way to make it safe, sane, and have that communication.
Well, and the one thing that I want to say is that we keep saying come out of scene and have these conversations. So if we're going to put a label on it, that would be the negotiation process. So
Right.
you negotiate before you go into play scene. Okay. And if anything goes awry or you're feeling off either the dom or the sub, you can step out of that play scene and renegotiate. And so then that's when you would have those conversations. Maybe it's afterwards. Maybe it's after aftercare. Maybe it's, you know, before you step into your second play scene. Maybe this is a 24/7 thing. So I have to say, hey, pause. Can we renegotiate? You know?
Right.
So it just depends.
Since you bring that up, so is it a matter of preference, or do you think it changes from scene to scene? Pretty much like.
Well, I'm gonna let Kane answer this one.
Yeah. Okay. What you got, Kane? Does it change from scene to scene?
It's a bit of both. I mean, like if that's your preference, that's your preference. Like Aurora said, you know, like when you get into knife play and extreme play like that, then a lot of DOMs will feel the need to always express that personal responsibility is crucial to engaging in these activities. And they're going to make it a point to inform their sub, this is what's going to happen. These are, you know, the risks, and this is what you need to be personally responsible for. But it also, again, you know, on that same token, it does differ from scene to scene. You know, when you're not dealing so much with extreme play, then, you know, SSC might cover it. When you start getting into more dangerous, you know, activities, you may need to incorporate rack or prick in order to emphasize the actual dangers involved with what you're going to be engaging in.
And for me, when I was working in the dungeon, it did change for scene to scene. You know what I'm saying? I could have the same client, the scene would change. We're doing something different. So yeah, I would touch on rack. I would touch on prick because I wanted people to understand what they were stepping into. And I'd give it a label so that they understood the community, you know? But,
and they knew kind of what lane they were in.
Umbrella of SSC. But yeah, I mean, I think it changes from scene to scene depending on what you're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah, but it all falls under that umbrella of SSC. So you just got to renegotiate. You got to speak about and be communicative about what is about to go down so that you have consent.
And I'll answer to piggyback off you. It's good to be aware of all these things, especially if you are, I guess, not in a committed relationship. You're not in a 24/7. You're experimenting. You may be on dating sites and going into these things with new people. It's always good to touch on all of these topics. If you're experienced in kink and maybe you're dealing with vanilla people, it's always good to use all of these factors, whether you're committed or not. So always making sure that you guys are on the same page.
And I'm really glad that you brought that up because yes, we are a kink page. Yes, we do delve into BDSM, but we all have relationship coaching expertise. Okay, I'm an intimacy coach. Sasha deals with relationships. So does Mr. Kane. He's a couple credits away from having his psychology degree. So I mean, you know, we're looking at like not just the sexual experience or lack thereof, you know, the exploration experience. You're also looking at the relationship and the connection. So even if you're vanilla, okay, and you categorize yourself as vanilla, or you're like, I don't want to step into the BDSM world, that's fine. But you still should have these conversations if you're dating, if you're about to go there. These conversations are good things to have. And if you feel like you can't, then what are you doing? You know what I'm saying?
Let me
like,
piggyback
that's
off
one thing that I have learned from this community. What are you doing? You know, you can't talk about it.
especially if people are floating around online and you know that that is your scene and you're trying to be casual or want nothing serious.
Right.
Be expressive. That doesn't mean you want something serious because you're willing to express. I kind of have a dominant side that I want to experience with someone that is open and wanting to experience that with me. Like, be okay to say that. That doesn't mean you want to marry this person. It just means you want to have a good placing instead of just saying, I don't want anything serious or I just want to have fun. Lay it out there. You may get more honey, communicating than, being poopy about it and trying to
Right. You attract more views with honey than
somebody. Yes. So with that being said, well, go ahead, Kate. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Kane's about to say something. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like because you asked, is it a matter of preference? Mm-hmm. Something that I just thought of is, I would say it's a matter of preference. And that's why we're, covering all three of these topics rather than just saying, hey, SSC.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this is what, if you're going to be in BDSM, SSC, like if you try to do rack or prick, no, that's not going to work.
We're highlighting
it's
them
SSC.
all so you guys know what's going on.
Yeah, we're giving you the information on all of them so that way you can make, a better and more informed decision if you are, getting introduced to this.
Yeah.
If you are
experienced views and you have someone who's on a spectrum, so you guys are getting a full understanding or perspective.
The reason why I bring it up is because there is going to be somebody who, like we said, personal preference is to use rack. Personal preference is to use prick. And that's just something that, comes with its own baggage or, like they have the reasons for that. The object of this isn't to shame or, ridicule somebody for their safety policy, but more or less just to be happy that they have one to begin with.
Right.
So
they're communicating and sharing that with you.
Like you were talking about finding somebody online. Mm-hmm. If you find somebody online and they're like, oh, well, like I deal in SSC, like, oh, well, I use rack. And if they start, trying to persuade you otherwise, then that should be a red flag that Dom doesn't really, or that sub might not have your best interest in mind and isn't willing to communicate and meet on a level playing field.
Right.
So, they're more selfish about their preference than they are willing to communicate.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So bottom line is like communication and consent. So, whatever your personal preference is to get the most out of your communication and your consent is what safety policy you should really, gravitate towards and use. And if, you want to be, for lack of a better word, stubborn and be in that safety policy, and that's the only one you're going to use, then stand your ground. Don't let anybody talk you out of it because you know what you're doing when you use that policy.
Right. If that's what you're comfortable with, then roll with it.
Right. But just be educated and communicate that, whether it's in a serious relationship.
The one thing that I definitely want Kane to repeat, because that is the most important part of this, was the part about that you have a safety plan, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't matter which one you use. Have a safety plan in place before you play. Okay?
Think of it as an action plan for work. You have objectives and you have things that you want to accomplish and how you want to accomplish that. It's okay to have it in your scene, in your relationship. Have an agenda.
Even, and I'm going to add this on there, even if you're playing with someone online, let's say it's not in person at all. Let's say you're a Dom and you have a sub that's online and it's purely on, you still need to put those things in place. You still need to have a negotiation. You still need to have something like a contract. I mean, the contracts aren't legal and binding, but it's something you guys both can refer back to and say, okay, but you agreed to this, this is what you're agreeing to. Like, don't step out of bounds because here's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You want to have those things, even if you're just playing with somebody online in a space through text message, video chat, I don't care what it is. You still need to have those procedures and those things, those rules in place. Otherwise, it's so haywire.
Right. Especially when you're playing online, you get a better response when you're letting someone up front know what it is, because then you're creating more drama for yourself if someone feels taken advantage of. And you really are, for lack of a better word, mentally malicious someone's mind into giving you what you want. And it feels better to willingly get what you want than to be devious about it.
Or trying to figure it out in the moment. Like I've known a lot of people that try and figure it out in the moment. And that's how someone either gets emotionally triggered or emotionally hurt or physically hurt.
I'll keep it real. I've been there. yeah, someone being too aggressive or switching gears, and you see them like switch into that mode and you weren't prepared, when your mind's not wrapped around it, you can snap into trauma.
Right.
So if you're setting those boundaries in place, you can have a better outcome, period, whether it's serious or not. You know, that's all we really want to drive home to you guys. Just communicate and make sure everybody's getting what they want out of the exchange, period.
Exactly.
Yes. So that being said, would you guys try them all? Or is anyone here specific to any lane? I just want to know.
Well, for me, as I already said, I will switch it up, and I will switch it up just to be informative, because a lot of times when I'm playing to help someone heal from trauma or something like that. But there's a lot of times where I just play to play. Okay. But those boundaries, that it literally, this is what it is. It's boundaries. You got to put those boundaries in place, and you got to know where one person is coming from, because you're dealing with someone else. Okay. You may know exactly what the heck you want to do and where you sit, but if you're dealing with someone else and someone new, these things need to be talked about. They need to be communicated so that you understand where to go, especially as a Dom, because we're the ones that paint the picture, right? So we need to have a full idea of what picture you want painted. Like, don't make us guess. Like, tell me what it is that you're looking for, and I can give that to you. But like, if you're just like, kind of, well, yeah, I might want to try that. Like, that's somebody I can't deal with, because I need you to be able to know who you are and communicate it effectively. You know?
To piggyback on that, whether you're a Dom, whether you're a goddess, whether you're communicating to your sub, even if you're a sub, you can have a stern yes, a stern no, and it not be disrespectful, because you're tapping into who you are at that moment. So you're communicating with another person. So
in negotiation, it's never disrespectful. And that's why I say have a negotiation phase first.
Right.
Because
this is me speaking from a vanilla perspective, just for people who are out there and they don't know how to come at it, or they're maybe it's thrusted upon them and they don't know, or you want to play a sub, you have a voice too. That's where
and like we've discussed before, when we said what is a sub, we said that, you know, most of the Doms here said the sub has more control, you know, and what happens than the Dom does. Once we're in scene, I have all the control. But before we step in scene, you're telling me exactly what you want, what you don't want, what you're okay with, what you're not comfortable with. Don't touch me there. Don't say this word as a trigger word. You know, you need to have those conversations, because I mean, otherwise I'm going to sit here and do what I did with the last person to you, and you may not like that, you know?
So what do you think, Mr. King?
I know he's got a devious smile. He's the definition of deviant right now.
It reminded me of something my dad says, like that my dad and my mom have, where they kind of just like banter back and forth, and he will say, I wear the pants, but she tells me when to wear them.
Yeah, I love it. Yes.
And so like when you're in a Dom sub relationship, you know, like we're touching on the fact that we're saying the sub usually has more power. You are going to set the play scene, and the Dom, and I've always said the Dom is there to fulfill a fantasy, you know, plays a certain role. So as a sub, don't think that, you know, you're asking to be belittled. You are not belittled. You're asking to be degraded. You are not degraded. So the Dom is wearing the pants, but the sub is telling them when to wear them.
Right.
So you are not being subjected to it.
Yeah, you are setting your own play scene. So that's where personal responsibility comes into play, where if something happens out of pocket, if something happens that you weren't expecting, you have to take the personal responsibility to say, I should have seen this coming. I should have evaluated this a little bit more. I should have communicated this more effectively. So granted, there's always going to be situations, scenarios, you know, where things go awry within a play scene. And as a sub, I would ask that do not get mad at the Dom unless it becomes a pattern of behavior. If you can't, if you can communicate to your Dom that something went awry, and if they're willing to, you know, work with that and do and make, you know, changes to keep that from happening again, then okay, play scenes can continue.
Yeah.
If the Dom is being, you know, a little callous or uncaring towards or being unsympathetic for the most part, you know, then that's a different situation. You need to remove yourself from that relationship, because obviously your safety isn't the paramount of their thought process.
Right. They're more into the control aspect. And
That's
and
in
a Dom
relationship
has,
or scene.
yep, and a Dom has control, and that's part of being a Dom, but not without the consent of the submissive. So
It's a dom with responsibility, not
Yes.
just someone being domineering over someone else's free will.
yes, exactly.
And we've talked about it before. It's like, can anybody be a dom? I would say everybody has the ability to do that, but you're going to have the experience, and you're going to have to be a good dom. I don't think everybody can. Everybody can be a dom, but not everybody can be a good dom unless you're following certain practices.
Unless you're willing to learn, unless you're willing to open up, really learn, explore.
I learn new stuff every day. Like there's ethically sourced porn categories.
Right.
I love it.
Doms are ethical. Like doms aren't just this domineering, swashbuckling pirate who's here to take all your pirates' booty. Like, no, there's someone who's domineering. There's a leader.
There's different levels of being a dom too. Just like we talked about before, there is a sensitive dom. There's a dom that's going to check on your feelings, your emotions, and be softer. It doesn't necessarily mean that this dom is going to be straight up hard and degrade you and humiliate you. And that's what it is to be with a dom. There can be a dom that is very much like, okay, you're going to get down on your knees. You're going to be cleaning my floors with a toothbrush. But are you good? Is your back hurting? Are you okay? You're good? Okay. All right. Just
dom could even
on you. Well, you missed a spot.
A dom could even be empowering, and the punishment could be like, you better go do this in your life, and it could be something positive for you too. So it's not even, that could even be a turn on for you. Someone telling you, you better get to work. Why aren't you there early? Okay, you're gonna get punished for that. So it could be sexual, or it could be a fantasy of like your dom is your boss and they have to tell you what to do. So there's so many different ways that could be played, but it's still within reason.
Right. And like I've said so many times before, when you're in play scene, when you are participating in BDSM, it doesn't necessarily have to do anything with sex, penetration, what you think of when you think sex, BDSM, all those kinds of things. Sometimes there's none of that. And it's literally just the action of being humiliated. It's just the action of being, hey, I want to be told to clean. It's just the action of, whatever it is, whatever that person's attracted to.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that person is going to be having any kind of intercourse or any.
It's so multifaceted, just like this community. So it's a joy to be able to just express yourself in any way you want to, pretty much.
Yeah. So Mr. Kane up there, you and the devious smile in the corner. Right. What is happening tonight?
You look like the little devil emoji. Like,
I got something to say.
It's like the more I sip from this cup, like the more comes to mind.
Oh, goodness. Stop sipping from the cup.
And so I was just reminded of like this really cool thing. It's gonna be a little off course, but bear with me. The definition of drug, do you guys know what the definition of drug is? So when you hear the word drug, like you automatically think, like bad stuff, like heroin, crack, ecstasy, pot, cocaine, things like that.
All right.
The definition of drug is actually any substance that can be used to produce a positive or a euphoric effect.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember being in elementary school in the DARE program. An officer came in and started explaining all that stuff, defined drug, and he said, so could chocolate be a drug?
Yeah.
And absolutely, sugar
chocolate
can be
wasted.
A drug. Coffee can be a
money.
Drug. But what everybody thinks is that, when they hear drug, they think of something specific. And, if you were to say that coffee was a drug, then you wouldn't think of that as being so dangerous as something else.
Right.
Same thing kind of applies to BDSM, to where you're trying to encompass everything, and where BDSM doesn't necessarily mean sex. And so because it's got a lot of sexual connotation to it doesn't mean that it's present in every scenario, every situation.
Yep.
And so you kind of get like this broad generalization of what BDSM is. And that's where your mind goes. That's what everybody assumes. And those assumptions are what make everything difficult for the rest of us, to where, I engage in BDSM, but there's no penetration. So, but they could still be looked down upon within society for engaging in practices that would be considered BDSM, but don't have sexual, tendencies, throughout them at all. And they are for, psychological reparations.
Well, and here's a great example of that, Tantra, and we'll get into that in season 3, but I've kind of touched on it a little bit, where you don't have any physical contact whatsoever when you are doing Tantra the right way. There is Tantra different ways, but really, honestly, you can raise your spiritual level, you can raise your vibration, you can have release, there's all things that involve Tantra, and Tantra falls under kink and BDSM.
Even
no penetration, there's not even any touching. So
even sapiosexuality, because I know my mind gets super stimulated before my body, and I know I can have physical experiences from an eloquent, meaningful verbal exchange with someone, whether it be on the phone. It doesn't have to be kinky. It could just be a stimulating, diverse conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is making me do some things.
Right, exactly. Give me the tango.
Right. Even if someone starts talking and we're in a sapiosexual setting and they stop saying what they're saying, that's still like, you're edging me like mentally. You know what I'm saying? So it's so multifaceted, and it really
is. This is like a rainbow. It's just a big old rainbow. And you can fall in between the different colors and make new colors. You see what I'm saying?
And we are the sprinkles on your vanilla sundae, honey.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to move this show along because Miss Sasha won the game last week. So guess what? She's got the game this week, and we have no choice.
No. You have
but to play it. Oh, so Miss Sasha, what is that tonight? What are you going to embarrass us with?
So you guys love when baby gets control. It's very rare and very far in between. Shut up. No one asked you, Brother Kane.
You said everybody.
Whatever. You do it secretly, like, man, forget her. So tonight we are going to revisit one of our fun games that we played, and it's Guess the Kink. And if you guys are subscribed and are watching, you may need to go back and check. Guess the Kink. This is what we're going to do. We're all going to have a list, or we all have a list of kink words, terms, phrases, and we're going to try to rotate turns and guess what each of us are saying. However, you're going to start with one marshmallow. I forgot to get marshmallows. So I have cotton balls, so you guys are going to enjoy that. We're going to start. I'm here for the team. I always take one for the team now. Nobody actually knows.
I'm playing.
Let's turn your mustache now. Okay? Don't you worry about my cotton balls now. You hear? Okay. But we're going to take turns. We're going to start with one marshmallow / cotton ball, and you're going to put them in your mouth, and then you're going to start to say your word, and we have to guess. Is there a category? Do we have to stick to a certain category within our kink? I'm trying to keep it to the Dom sub relationship SSC umbrella. Okay. And relationships.
Can we add? And yes. Can I just put this in there as a little. Can we add, since September is the month for foot fetish? Yeah. That is the fetish of the month for September. Yeah. Can we add foot fetish terms or words in there? Yeah. Okay, cool. Foot fetish and your safety protocol words. You got that, Kate? Okay. He's like, oh God. Okay. So who's going first?
You know what, Miss Aurora? I never give you a hard time. You go first for us, Miss Aurora.
I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna tell you this right now.
No, you're not.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
You are the quiet storm, ma'am. You always bring the pain.
Okay, so is it one marshmallow in and then a word?
We're starting with one in the mouth.
Okay, so how does someone win? The person that says it first, who's keeping track of the score? Because I'm not shoving this in my mouth.
I will keep track of the score, and then maybe Brother Kane, you can keep track when I go, and we'll compile the two, maybe.
Okay.
Let me.
And how many? It's just how long do we have to do this? That's the other piece of it.
Okay, I got my little timer right here. We're gonna do 30 seconds on the clock. How about that?
Okay, I got 30 seconds to get through my words. All right.
Yes, let me get my stopwatch together. All right. 30 seconds. No, not that. Stopwatch. Okay. No. Okay. Sorry, getting my clock
Oh,
together.
you're good. You are good.
All right, y'all. Okay, 30 seconds on the clock. All right.
Easy for y'all.
So, Kane, are you reading first, or are we taking turns? No, you're reading to us. Never mind. I'm sorry.
I'm shoving and saying. I'm shoving and saying.
All right. 30 seconds on the clock. Go.
Prick.
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 Oh, Sasha got that first. Consensual kink.
Consensual kink.
I think you both got that one.
We both got it. 7, 6.
Soul.
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 Tool.
Soul.
What was it?
Soul.
So we got me with 2 and Kane with 2. We're tied up.
Okay, give me like 2 seconds. I got
No
rinse.
worries.
That was like powder.
Yeah. Well, you at least y'all got marshmallows, child. I got cotton balls. I don't know how this gonna go. I really love y'all.
You got somebody like on standby in case like a cotton ball goes awry? I mean,
No, see, I got this red wine, the blood, Jesus got me, But while you guys are here, I'm putting cotton balls in my mouth for y'all, okay? I need y'all to drop a like, please. It really, really favors us, and tell us your favorite moment in tonight's show, please. Or if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, drop it down. But go ahead and like for all this we going through for y'all.
I don't like marshmallows, just so you know.
I don't like cotton balls in my mouth, but praise the, from all, the universe. Okay.
oh, you just broke Peter Rabbit's heart.
Well, I got a cottontail for you. It ain't this one though.
All right. So what's happening now? I'm sorry, I had to rinse that out. That was
Okay.
not.
Is it my turn now? Let me get these cotton balls out the way now.
God, all right. She's like, let me just get
I
this
ain't got
done. Let
time
me get
for
this
y'all.
done.
Let me get my hair ball together. I'm about to turn into my cat now. Shit. I don't want to do these cotton
It's
balls.
gonna be hilarious. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to guess because you're shoving cotton balls in your mouth.
All right. Okay. Okay. Shit, let me keep time. Lord, I'm not liking these cotton balls. See, that's what I get for not being prepared now.
I'll bet you'll never miss going to the grocery store before a show again.
I definitely won't. Okay. So
You could have DoorDashed some
didn't nobody ask you nothing. Okay.
Nobody asked you shit.
I'll start with 2 cotton balls just to make sure, because I'm sure they're making up for 1 marshmallow. See? This is all right.
Queening.
Yeah.
Ah.
Pleasure? Placing? Playroom?
Playroom. Pleaser. Pleaser. Fuck yeah. What?
Post?
Pose.
What was it?
It was pose.
She gonna really have to go rinse out her mouth. I was like, I don't like marshmallows. This chick put in freaking cotton balls.
Cotton in my mouth. Shit. Hold on.
And she's like, hold up, no. That probably tasted like chemicals. I can't even freaking give her no crap. Yo, she rolls hard for SafeWord. All I gotta say is Miss Sasha rolls hard for SafeWord. Yes. All right.
Now we are back to our regularly scheduled program. Damn it. Okay. Brother Ken.
All right. So thank you guys so much for joining us tonight.
No, Ninja, no.
I'm gonna pull you by your mustache if you don't come on now.
Shoving. You better get to shoving, boy.
I put cotton in my mouth now. The hell? You better come on now.
All right, you ready? You got 30 seconds on the clock? Miss
I'm
Sasha.
too busy trying to get the cotton taste out of my damn mouth.
Oh,
All
and
right,
keep track of
3.
the score because I don't have a score thing.
I got you. 3,
Okay.
2, 1, go.
Soul.
Soul.
Boot.
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 Boop.
Boot.
Boot.
Boop. Boop.
Boot.
Boot. Boot.
Boot.
Boot.
We said boot so long ago.
I thought you said boob. Feet.
Feet.
Feet. You got it, Laura.
Heel.
Heel.
Parafusal.
That were
What?
scissor hands.
One more time.
Parafusal.
One more time.
Podophilia.
Pedrophilia.
Podophilia.
Podrophilia. Podrophilia.
Okay.
Pedrophilia.
Okay,
What the
time.
fuck is that?
So Laura, you got 3 on that one.
Huh?
You got 3 on that one for me. I don't know how many you got when came to count for me. But you got 3 from that
What's
one.
the score? What do you have written down? He's like, yuck.
Aurora had 6.
So 7, 8, 9. You have 9, and I have 6. And Kane, you have.
No, she got 3, so she's at
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. I
Okay,
have
you're
6
at
total.
6. I'm at 6. And Kane, you're at 3.
Dang.
What do you got for you when I win?
I had 2.
Okay, so you are at
5.
5. So me and Miss Aurora are tied.
Okay.
So Kane, you got to do
Okay, you
the
gotta
tiebreaker.
do it again.
You thought.
Gets the shoving boy. Gets the shoving boy.
You got to do the tiebreaker, sir. Come on.
Come on. This is the
Come on,
tiebreaker
please.
right here. And this is for the game for next week. Whoever wins this, that's
Right.
the game for next week.
I'm on a roll. We got 2. Is it gonna be 3? Playoffs.
All right, let's do this.
Oh wait, no. Wait.
Wait, she's got to start the thing.
Go.
Sane.
Same.
Consent.
Consent.
Socks.
Sock.
Socks.
Log.
Socks. Fuck.
That wasn't it. Stay puff.
Roof.
Splits.
Roof.
Wish.
Risk.
Motherfucker.
Boom.
Okay, so you got 2 from that one.
Yeah, I think I got what 2 or 3, something like that. I don't know. I wasn't keeping track.
Neither was I.
You got 8, and I got 8.
Oh, one more again.
Let's go,
One more again.
Rochambeau. Let's
Huh?
give Kane a break. Rochambeau this mofo. Come on, Cletus.
All right, ready?
Okay. Best out of 3.
Yeah, let's do that.
1,
Ready?
2,
Okay.
3, shoot.
Wait. Okay,
Yeah.
go again.
1. Ready? Wait, girl. One.
I'm ready to win.
1, 2, 3, shoot. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3, shoot. You got that one. All right, ready?
Tiebreaker.
1, 2, 3, shoot. Oh, Miss Sasha got it. Now Miss Sasha's got the game for next week. Yes, she's on a roll. Okay, she's had the game for like 3 weeks in a row now.
Baby ain't playing. Can't nobody keep baby in the corner, okay?
That was great. That was absolutely awesome.
Great. Now next week we'll all have to use cotton balls.
Right.
I mean, y'all may be playing Twister. Pink
if you want
Twister.
to see the breakdown of the different types of Dom sub relationships, we're going to kind of go into that and delve into some stories. We get a little bit crazy on our Patreon. We can be free and let you guys know exactly what it be. So join us over there. You can check the links. They're all over on every last one of our videos. I'm not putting it up tonight, but you know how to get to us. If you don't, check a description box because it's in every single one. Join our Patreon. We do a live show right after this one. So, Mr. K, would you like to take us out?
I won, y'all.
Yeah, I wanted to take us out like 5 minutes ago before it was my turn.
Thank you for being such a good sport, Kane, and being the tiebreaker. Yay!
Hopefully
Just to be
we
fair, I had
weren't
to do
too
it
hard
twice.
on you. We were gentle.
I get a pass on next week's game. I get a freebie.
The fuck you do?
Look here, we need you to win one because Remy's even won one. What the heck are you doing with your life?
I'm trying to give everybody a chance. God.
Oh, thank you for giving us time to shine. Thank you.
All right,
everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you guys enjoyed. If anything, not the information, at least our beautiful ladies and that other dude that's on that show. So do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe. We did get a new guy tonight, or a new person in tonight. So thank you.
Shay 45.
Shay. I wanted to say Sosh.
Yes. Shay 45. Thank you so much for viewing tonight, for being a part of the live show.
Hey,
Roy, we love you. You always here.
Roy.
You are boy blue. All right. Thank you so much for being here.
We
and
appreciate
everyone else
all of
watching.
you guys. Tell your friends, tell your family. If you guys want to learn more about kink, BDSM, and relationships, you guys know where to find us. We're here every Friday. But like always, all good things must come to an end. And unfortunately, here on YouTube, SafeWord is going to say good night. So thank you guys so much for being here. We'll catch you guys next week. Have a good weekend. And always remember your